Greetings, Linux fans. I come to you at a time when hell has frozen over. What has happened, you say, in the community? Has Microsoft released the Windows kernel as free and open source software? No, something even more improbable than that. Arch, the distro that doesn't want to have any of you Calmary's people in their midst, has released an installer. Yes, it's on the Arch ISO. I couldn't make this up. Indeed, we are living in an age where pigs fly. All right, so if we head on over to the Arch Linux homepage, you'll see right at the top, installation medium with installer. All right, so it's true. It's not an April Fool's joke or anything like that. There's an actual installer on Arch Linux. So if we head on over to the download page, you scroll down, you can find your country and get a mirror and go ahead and download the ISO. There is an Arch Wiki entry for Arch install. Doesn't really say all that much. It does tell you one very important thing, that this script supports only UEFI. Okay, so if you have a BIOS system, you just simply can't use the script. But most people these days have UEFI, so I think it'll be all right. And there is also a home page for the installer. As a user, there's not a lot of useful information on this site. It's really more geared towards the developer, it looks like. But it's an interesting read. You can give it a shot. I'll have all of the links below. All right, so let's fire up the Arch ISO and see how it looks. All right, now we've booted up Arch and we are greeted with Cowsay. Interestingly, unless I'm missing something, yeah, there is not any information on the Arch installer in that little blurb there. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and I haven't done a thing. Let's fire it up. It's Arch install, just like that. By the way, this is the first time I'm doing this with you all. Okay, select one of the above keyboard languages. 21 is US, is good for me. You can choose yours. Select one of the above regions. Oh, okay, this is for the mirrors. Very nice. USA, where is you? Oh, there it is. 51 USA is good for me. You'll choose your own country. It would be better if it ran reflector, but okay, that's good enough. I'll take that. Okay, now you get to choose your disk. So that looks like number 2. I'm running this, by the way, it's VDA. I'm running this in a virtual machine. I don't usually like to do that, but when I have these kind of installs with text-based, TTY type installation, I can't use my capture cord. It just doesn't work. I haven't figured out the reason. I get weird blotches on the screen. It just doesn't work. So I have to use the VM for this. But I think for this, our purposes here, it'll be okay because we're just testing the installer, nothing else. It's not that much of a hardware-related type thing. All right. Okay, we get to select a file system. Let's stick with good old ext4. I would like to do butter. Let's stick with we're just testing the installer. Let's not get carried away. Okay. ext4 disk encryption password, leave blank for no encryption. All right, we'll do that. Hostname, how about Arch install? Root password, recommendation, leave blank to leave root disabled. What does that mean? They're recommending you not to put in a root password? Or are they just giving you the information and the word recommendation is deceptive? Saying you can leave it blank. That's dubious. Anyway, don't leave it blank. Okay? You guys have known me on my channel. You know that I always recommend enabling the root account, even in Ubuntu. It's the way to go. So Let's put in a root password. Enter a username. So that's easy. LEX, Linux Experience XYZ. Password. Alright. Should this user be sudo super user yet? Yes. Now look, N is capitalized, which means the default is no. Now how does that make sense? Think about that. They recommend that you disable the root account, and then the default is not to give your user, super user, sudo privileges. If you did that, you wouldn't be able to get into your system. Anyway, we go ahead and say yes. I think we should be all right. Additional user, leave blank to skip. Okay, we can skip. Above lists a set of pre-programmed profiles. They might make it easier to install things like desktop environments. Okay, good. Well, there's not a lot here. Awesome. Desktop, GNOME, KDE, KDE. Wait, what is desktop? Oh, I have an idea. Let's do something safe. Let's try GNOME. Actually, I want to see GNOME 40. I haven't seen GNOME 40 yet. Alright, so we installed 2. Supported graphic. Oh, nice. Nice. They do this for you, too. Alright, so VMware 6. That's good for me. That's excellent that they have that there. That's really good. This is excellent. They have the AMD and the Intel and the NVIDIA, as well as all the rest. Alright. Yeah, VMware is good. Now, I knew this was coming, even though I haven't done this before. This is why I had a little sneaky idea. So we installed the GNOME, or going to install the GNOME desktop environment. But why stop there? This is still Arch. We can still do whatever we want. So let's add XFCE4. That's the meta package. And then there's XFCE4-goodies. That's probably good enough, because it's going to install networking. We hope, anyway. And it's going to install, obviously, Xorg and all that stuff. I wonder if it's going to install... Let's make sure we install Vim, Nano. And I've been using Micro lately, in addition to Vim. Micro is pretty good. It's sort of like Nano. Isn't that much different, but it's got a couple of features that I like. Let's install Git. And yeah, that might be good enough. Alright, now the only thing I did that I would normally do is I chose the GNOME desktop, and I'm also installing XFCE. But, oh wait, let's install we might not install a, you think it'll install a browser? Let's put Firefox in there. And Chromium in there, just in case. I think that's probably good enough. It's good enough to get started anyway, assuming that this works. Alright, that's that. And what's it doing? Oh my god. Typo. XFCE4. Why did I type F? Alright. So I'm going to go through this again, and I'll come back. Alright. We're back at the additional packages to install. Let's try this again without a typo. Alright, so that's one negative mark on the installer. It can't handle a typo. It kicks you out. It should just ask you to repeat that step again. But it happens. This, like I said, it's a very early version of the software. I'm sure it's going to get better. XFCE4-goodies. Again, there's a typo. Okay. Now, what did I put? I put Vim, Nano, Micro, Git, Firefox, Chromium. All right, now we'll try this for the second time, see what happens. All right, that looked good. Okay, all right, so Arch guys, if you could make a redo on that instead of kicking you out, that would be appreciated. Select one network interface to configure. Copy ISO network configuration. Oh, that's wow, that's good. Okay, I forgot to mention I'm wired here. I didn't go over if you want to use Wi-Fi. I think you'll have to do it before you start this installer because there was no steps to do that. So it's wifi-menu is the command. That's the easy command. There's harder ways to do it, but wifi-menu is one of those things that are nestled in the Arch ISO that people don't necessarily know about. But it looks like you can copy the configuration so that if you do that, then you can go ahead and move it over. You don't have to redo it. Okay, so that's what we're going to choose, copy. In this VM with just one network option, I don't think it would make a difference either way, because option number 1 is the correct option. So option 0 is that option that's already been utilized. We will use that 0, but I think 0 is the way to go here, because if you're already connected to the internet, why not just save your work? Enter a valid time zone. Example, Europe-Stockholm. All right, so this is your typical thing. They haven't done this automatically, but it is still easier than the old way. All right, so in my case, it's America dash new underscore York. Whoops, York. Okay, that's my time zone. You'll have to change yours accordingly. But yeah, it's basically continent, city, or in case of America, it's country, city. But you can look those up fairly easily. Whoa, what's this? Oh, okay. No, it looks all right. It's just not very polished at this point, but it's telling you what it's going to do. Okay. It's got the packages. Yep. All right. So this is apparently all correct. Press enter to continue. All right. It's going to format and it's going to install. It's going to have to install everything now. Let's see how this works. Installing the package page. Oh, Nano is there. So I didn't have to put Nano in. Base develop Linux, no headers. Okay, well that's something. You have to install headers if you need them. Base develop Linux firmware, EFI boot manager, and Nano. That's pretty sparse. That's what it does in terms of what you haven't chosen, right? This is what every install gets. That's what this looks like. And okay, I mean, that's good. It's good enough. You have what you need. I assume it's going to somehow, somewhere install networking and XFCE and all that stuff. Of course it will. All right, so this is going to take a while. I will come back when it's done. All right, well, that didn't take very long at all. This was, I have to say, a really easy installation, even though I made it a little bit more complicated. You can see here, it's giving you the rundown of what it did. So it created the two partitions, VFAT and ext4. So obviously we're just getting boot and root. Come to think of it, it didn't ask me anything about that. I wonder how big it made. Let's see, how big did it make it? 512 megabyte boot partition, and the rest went to root. Okay, so that's what it does. Like I say, this is early editions of this software. It probably will give you more control in the future, or maybe you can edit the install script. But for now, this is good enough. So it made the partitions, it checked the mirror list, mounted everything. It enabled networking. Okay, very good. And then it installed the packages that I requested, network profiles, created the user, and all that good stuff. fstab. All right, good. This is it. It did. Looks like it did everything. We should be able to reboot. It says we can. See if this worked. This is so exciting. And come on, let's go back to full screen. All right, it worked. Here we are on GDM, and let me tell you, I love Arch. That booted up fast. I mean, it was pretty much as close to an instantaneous boot up. I mean, if it took 5 seconds, it was a lot. Anyway, let's select GNOME here. Let's take a look at GNOME first. All right, so here we are in GNOME. Let's see what they've got installed here. It's going to be, Boxes is installed in the basic install. I think I remember hearing something about that. That's part of the regular GNOME package now. Photos, videos, the usual. Suspects. There's Chromium Firefox, which we installed. Dictionary, yeah, all the usual things. Wow, there's a lot of games in this thing. Interesting. I haven't been much of a GNOME person really since GNOME 3, so certainly not any kind of expert. But let's see, the text editor. Very nice. And there's that. Typical GNOME stuff. Alright, so it's obviously a very basic install, but that's what Arch is. That's what it's going to be. Anything you want, this is your palette. Okay, this is not really a review of GNOME, so let's log out of here and let's take a look at XFCE. Alright, here we go. Switch this to XFCE session. And away we go. Alright. Again, we're going to have our typical things. At least they put the terminal emulator up top. I don't know, GNOME buried it. Yes, your typical nice settings manager. It's very clean, very clear. I'm so much more in tune. Let's see if we can find some wallpaper here. I'm so much more in tune with this desktop than I am with, that's kind of neat, than I am with GNOME. I never ever really got into the GNOME thing. Even when I was running GNOME 2, it was sort of like, it's not too bad. That's cool. I like that. Ooh, nice, but a bit too bright for my tastes. That's better. That's better. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for that one. All right. So, there you have it. Very quick, easy installation of 2 desktops on Arch. If it took 10 minutes of my time, including 5 minutes for the actual install, it's a lot. Big change in Arch. And yet, it's still really Arch. I mean, you can do anything. In fact, I have a couple of ideas. I think I'm going to make another video right after this one, fooling around with that installer and doing some other things with it, see what we can get going. It's not going to replace the other distributions like Arch, like Endeavor, or like Arch or Linux, or any of those. Those are full-feature distributions, and this installer is not going to replace that. And I am very sure that that's not what Arch wanted to do. They don't want that kind of experience with their installer. They're just sort of taking out that grungy work, sort of like I've got to do the, I got to set my locale and my keyboard, and I've got to put my host name, and all the grub and all the little things that, you do it once, you say, okay, I learned it. After that, it becomes kind of a chore, so it takes that away, while still giving you pretty much full control. I have to say I like it. I like it. I'm a big fan, and I think that you should all utilize it. At least give it a try. Can't hurt. So yeah, we've come to the day when pigs fly and hell is frozen over. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Check out the installer. When you do, you can send me a message and say, by the way, I use Arch.